The night was heavy with smoke. The sky above the battlefield glowed faintly from burning wreckage. Broken ships lay across the ground like fallen giants. The air carried the smell of metal, fire, and ash. Among the ruins, a human explorer named Daniel moved carefully. His suit light cut through the darkness, searching for survivors, though he knew he was far from safe. Then he saw her. She lay on a bed of shattered stone, her body still, her chest rising only in shallow breaths. At first, Daniel thought she was another casualty of war, but then her eyes opened weakly. They were unlike anything he had ever seen, glowing softly like liquid silver. Her skin shone faint blue under the firelight, smooth and delicate, yet marked by wounds that ran deep. Her long hair was tangled and burned in places, but even in her broken state she looked breathtaking, like a living star fallen to the ground. Daniel's scanner warned him immediately. The device on his wrist beeped with a red light. Species classified as hostile. Dangerous. Approach not recommended. But Daniel did not step back. He felt his chest tighten as he looked at her. She was dying, and she was alone. He had seen countless bodies across the battlefield, but something about this one was different. Something inside him refused to let her fade away without a chance. He knelt beside her, ignoring the warning from his scanner. Her lips trembled, and with great effort she whispered, "Why, save me?" Her voice was soft, fragile, filled with pain. Daniel pressed a hand to her shoulder to keep her steady. "Because you are still alive," he answered firmly. "And I will not leave you here." She tried to shake her head, but her strength was fading fast. Blood, darker than human blood, stained her side. Her breathing grew weaker with every passing second. Daniel knew he had little time. He pulled a medical kit from his pack and worked quickly. The tools were human, not meant for her kind, but he could only hope they would help. The ground trembled as an explosion sounded in the distance. Daniel looked around sharply. Enemy drones still patrolled the area. He had to move her now or both of them would be found. Without hesitation, he slipped one arm under her shoulders and lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, as if her body was made of glass. She gasped in pain, but she did not resist. Her head rested against his chest as he stood. Step by step, Daniel carried her through the ruins. The firelight cast long shadows over the walls. Every corner felt dangerous, every sound made his heart race. The scanner continued to beep, warning him of the risk. Yet the sound only fueled his determination. He would not abandon her. The path ahead was blocked by fallen metal beams. He set her gently down on a safe patch of ground. For a moment she clutched his sleeve, her silver eyes locking onto his. They seemed to beg him not to leave her, even for a second. Daniel gave a small nod. "I will come back for you," he said quietly. With all his strength, he pushed against the beams. Metal groaned, sparks fell, and dust filled the air. He forced a gap wide enough to crawl through, then hurried back to lift her again. She was growing colder, her breath shorter, her body limp in his arms. Daniel whispered encouragement as he carried her forward. "Stay with me. Do not give up now. You will live. I promise you." At last, he reached his hidden outpost at the edge of the ruins. The entrance was a small hatch buried under stone, invisible to enemy eyes. He opened it with trembling hands and carried her inside. The outpost was dark and narrow, filled with human equipment, but it was safe. He laid her gently on a medical bed and began working. He cleaned her wounds, applied human biogel, and sealed the cuts as best as he could. She flinched under his touch, but did not resist. Her glowing eyes followed him weakly, as if searching for something in his face. Time passed slowly. Her breathing steadied little by little, though the danger was far from gone. Daniel sat beside her, exhausted, watching the rise and fall of her chest. His hands shook not from fear of her kind, but from the fear of losing her. Once more, her lips moved. Her voice was faint, almost a sigh. "Why risk your life, for me?" Daniel leaned closer so she could hear his answer. "Because no one deserves to die alone. Not even you." Her eyes softened, a flicker of emotion passing across her face. Then, before sleep claimed her again, she whispered something he did not understand. It was in her language, yet the sound carried weight. A promise. A bond. Daniel sat in silence, the beeping of his scanner the only sound in the room. He had saved her, but deep in his heart he knew this act would not end here. Something far greater had just begun. The hidden outpost was silent except for the hum of machines. Daniel placed the alien girl on the medical bed. Her body was fragile, her skin pale, glowing faintly like the last light of a dying star. He leaned close, his hands trembling as he checked her pulse. Weak, but still there. He worked quickly. His kit was filled with human supplies, designed for soldiers like him, not for her kind. Yet he had no other choice. He cleaned her wounds, applied biogel, and sealed the bleeding cuts with a steady hand. The strange color of her blood stained his gloves, yet he did not flinch. As he worked, he spoke softly, as if his words could keep her tethered to life. "Stay with me. Do not give up now. You are safe here." Her silver eyes opened slightly. She looked at him, not with fear, but with a silent question. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only a faint sigh. Daniel lowered his voice even more. "I know you cannot understand everything I say. But hear this. You are not alone." She blinked slowly, as if the words reached her heart, and then her eyes closed again. Hours passed. Daniel stayed by her side, watching every movement of her chest. Each shallow breath filled him with both relief and fear. He kept adjusting the machines, feeding her small doses of oxygen, forcing her body to accept the medicine. At last, her breathing steadied. The danger had not passed, but the storm had quieted for now. Daniel let out a long breath, sinking back into his chair. His body ached, his eyes heavy, but he refused to sleep. Suddenly, her hand twitched. He leaned forward. Her fingers, delicate and glowing faintly at the tips, brushed against his wrist. Slowly, her eyes opened again, silver light shimmering faintly within them. "You saved me," she whispered. Her voice was weak, broken, but clear enough. Daniel nodded. "Yes. I did." "Why?" Her eyes searched his face, wide and fragile, as if the answer mattered more than her life. Daniel hesitated. He had asked himself the same question. The scanner had warned him she was dangerous. His training had told him to leave her. Yet when he saw her lying there, bleeding and broken, he had not been able to walk away. "Because you were dying," he said at last. His voice was steady, filled with quiet resolve. "And no one deserves to be left alone. Not even you." Her lips trembled. She tried to speak again, but her strength failed. She closed her eyes and rested, her hand still holding his wrist weakly, as if unwilling to let go. Daniel sat in silence, staring at her. Something stirred in his chest, something he could not explain. She was alien, yet her pain felt human. Her beauty was otherworldly, yet her fragility made her real. Through the long hours of the night he cared for her. He replaced bandages, gave her water in small drops, and kept the room warm. Every time her breath grew shallow, his heart stopped. Every time it steadied, relief washed over him like a tide. When dawn finally came, soft light filtered into the outpost. Daniel was exhausted, but he refused to rest. He stood by her side, studying her face in the glow. She was still weak, but her color was returning. The wounds he sealed had closed slightly. The biogel shimmered faintly over her skin. Then, without warning, she spoke again. "Your name?" Daniel blinked, surprised. "Daniel," he answered gently. She repeated the sound, her accent heavy, her lips forming the words slowly. "Daniel." She breathed his name like it was fragile, as if afraid it would break. A small smile touched his lips. "Yes. Daniel." She looked at him for a long moment, her silver eyes soft and filled with something new. Trust. Then she let her head rest back against the pillow. For the first time since he found her, Daniel felt hope. She was fighting to live. Not just because of his medicine, but because of something deeper. A bond that had already begun to form between them. Still, a shadow lingered in his mind. His training told him she was dangerous. His scanner repeated the warning every time it picked up her life signs. Yet his heart told him something else. She was not his enemy. She was something more. As he watched her drift into sleep again, Daniel whispered to himself, "What have I done? What path have I started?" The silence of the outpost gave him no answer. Only the steady sound of her breathing filled the air, reminding him that he had chosen this path the moment he lifted her from the ruins. And deep down, Daniel knew the true price of saving her had not yet been revealed. The silence of the outpost was broken by the soft hum of the machines. Daniel stood at the control panel, checking the scanners. Enemy patrols had moved closer during the night, but for now the outpost was hidden. He turned back to the bed where the alien girl rested. She was awake. Her silver eyes were open, calm yet sharp, fixed on him as if studying every detail of his face. The glow in her skin was stronger than before. The medicine had worked, and the strength in her gaze was returning. Daniel moved closer, setting down a cup of water. "Drink," he said gently. Her slender hand reached out. She touched the cup, then hesitated. Her fingers brushed his hand as she lifted it. For a moment her gaze lingered on the warmth of his skin, then she drank slowly. When she finished, she looked at him again. "You saved me," she said softly. Daniel gave a small nod. "Yes." Her eyes narrowed slightly, as if measuring the weight of his answer. She set the cup aside, then straightened her shoulders. There was dignity in her posture now, the kind that came from someone who had once stood above others. "My name is Soraya," she said at last. Her voice was stronger than before. "Daughter of the House of Thalis." Daniel froze. The name was unfamiliar, but the way she spoke it made his chest tighten. It was not a simple introduction. It was a declaration. "I do not know what that means," he admitted quietly. "But I believe it is important." Her eyes shimmered faintly, both proud and sorrowful. "Important?" "Yes. I am not only Soraya. I am heir to my people. And now my life is yours." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean, yours?" She looked at him without blinking. Her expression was serious, almost cold, but beneath it he saw a tremor of emotion. "Among my kind, to save a life is to claim it. A debt that cannot be broken. The one who saves must be repaid. The price is binding." Daniel leaned closer, trying to understand. "Repayment? What kind of repayment?" Her voice grew quiet, filled with something deeper. "Marriage." The word hung heavy in the air. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He almost stepped back, but her gaze held him in place. "Marriage," he repeated slowly. "You are saying, because I saved you?" She nodded. "Yes. By our law, you are bound to me. I cannot return to my people unless this bond is fulfilled. If I return without honoring it, I bring shame. They will not accept me. They will cast me out." Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "I did not save you for this. I saved you because it was right." Her silver eyes softened, a flicker of conflict breaking through her calm. "I know. But the law of my people does not care why. It cares only that you saved me. My life is tied to yours now." Silence filled the room. Daniel looked at her, struggling with the weight of her words. She was beautiful, otherworldly, but this was not about beauty. It was about culture, tradition, and a bond he never intended to create. Finally, he spoke. "I cannot accept that. Not without choice. Not like this." Soraya lowered her gaze, her hands tightening around the blanket. For a moment, her proud strength faded, and he saw the fragile girl beneath it. "If you refuse, I will have no place to go. My people will see me as broken. They will see you as dishonored. And both of us will carry the mark of shame." Her words cut deep. Daniel felt his heart ache. He had thought saving her would end with her life spared. Now he saw that it was only the beginning. He sat down beside her, his voice steady but gentle. I do not want to bring you shame. But I also cannot promise something without understanding it. I am human. Your law is not mine. Soraya looked at him again, her silver eyes shining with unspoken emotion. Then you must learn. For both our sakes. The hum of the machines filled the silence once more. Daniel stared at the floor, torn between duty and his own heart. He had not asked for this bond, yet it was now part of his life. As he lifted his gaze to meet hers, he saw something unexpected. Not just pride or tradition. Not just the weight of duty. But a quiet hope, fragile yet real. In that moment, Daniel understood something deeper. This was not only about law or marriage. It was about survival. She needed him. And perhaps, though he could not admit it yet, he needed her too. The air in the outpost felt heavier after Soraya's words. Daniel sat in silence, his mind turning in circles. He had saved her life, but now her people's tradition stood before him like a wall. A price he never asked for. A bond he never expected. Soraya sat upright on the bed, her silver eyes fixed on him. Her strength had returned enough for her voice to grow firm again. Daniel, you must understand. My people will come. When they do, they will demand the bond. They will not ask. They will not wait. Daniel rubbed his temples. Then what happens if I say no? Her expression tightened. If you refuse, they will see it as insult. They will see it as betrayal. For them, to save a life and then deny the bond is worse than murder. You would be marked as enemy. And I. Her voice faltered for the first time. I would be cast out. Alone. Broken. Daniel's chest grew heavy. He wanted to argue, to tell her that tradition could not decide his fate. Yet when he looked at her, he saw the fear behind her steady eyes. She was proud, but even pride could not hide her dread of being abandoned. Before he could speak, a sudden alarm echoed through the outpost. His scanner flared red. Multiple life forms detected. Approaching fast. Soraya's face paled. They are here. Daniel grabbed his weapon and checked the hatch. Outside, shadows moved in the ruins. Armored figures with glowing spears advanced, their armor shining with the same silver hue as Soraya's eyes. They were not scavengers. They were soldiers. Her people. Within minutes, the hatch burst open. Several alien guards stormed in, their weapons raised. Daniel lifted his rifle instinctively, but Soraya cried out, her voice sharp. Wait! Do not harm him! The guards froze, confused. One of them, taller and broader than the rest, stepped forward. His voice was cold. Princess Soraya! You live! His gaze shifted to Daniel, hard and unforgiving. And this human, defile our law by keeping you. Daniel's jaw clenched. I saved her. She would have died if not for me. The alien soldier's eyes narrowed. Then you already know the price. Soraya struggled to stand. Her body shook, but her voice was steady. He is not your enemy. He carried me from death when no one else came. Do not dishonor his courage. The tall soldier frowned. Princess, you know the law? The life debt must be fulfilled. He must take you as bondmate, or suffer exile by blade. There is no other path. Daniel's grip tightened on his weapon. I will not be forced. The soldiers raised their spears, but Soraya stepped between them. Her hair glowed faintly in the light, her figure fragile yet unyielding. Stop. You will not harm him. This human chose to save me when even my own warriors failed. He is worthy. Her voice carried a power Daniel had not heard before. It was not only her pleading, but her authority. She was not just a girl. She was a princess of her people. Even the soldiers hesitated under her command. The tall one growled. If that is your will, princess, then let him prove it. The council will demand a trial. If he survives, the bond is honored. If he fails, his life ends. And yours will be shadowed in disgrace. Soraya lowered her head, her eyes closing for a moment. Then she looked at Daniel. You see now. They will not let us escape this. Either you accept the bond and face the trial, or both of us are broken. Daniel felt his chest tighten. His human heart screamed at the weight of such a choice. He had never imagined that saving her would lead here, standing between armies and traditions older than his world. Yet as he looked at Soraya, he saw her strength and her fear woven together. She had stood for him. She had risked shame and defied her soldiers. And in her silver eyes he saw the spark of trust, fragile but real. Daniel lowered his rifle slowly. His voice was calm, though his heart pounded. Then let the council come. If I must face their trial, I will. Not for law. Not for tradition. But because I will not see her fall because of me. Soraya's eyes widened, shimmering with emotion. For a moment her proud mask slipped, and he saw gratitude, deep and raw. She bowed her head slightly, her voice breaking into a whisper meant only for him. You do not know what you have promised. But I thank you. The soldiers stepped back, satisfied with his words. The tall one nodded sharply. Then it is settled. Prepare yourself, human. The council will decide your fate. As the guards turned to leave, the silence returned to the outpost. Daniel exhaled slowly, his hands shaking only after the danger passed. Soraya looked at him, her eyes filled with both sorrow and hope. You should have walked away when you found me. Yet you chose me again. Do you regret it? Daniel met her gaze, steady and unwavering. No. I do not. Her lips trembled, and for the first time since he found her, a small, fragile smile touched her face. But both of them knew the hardest part had only just begun. The outpost grew quiet after the soldiers left, but the silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, filled with the weight of Soraya's words and the soldiers' demands. Daniel sat near the dim glow of the control panel, his hands clasped tightly together. His heart still raced from the confrontation. Soraya lay on the bed, her body weak but her spirit unbroken. She watched him with steady silver eyes, as if waiting for the question he had not yet spoken. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. What do you want from me? His voice was low, almost a whisper. Soraya did not look away. Not what I want. What must be. My people live by law, not desire. They will summon the council. They will demand your answer. Daniel leaned back, staring at the ceiling. If I accept, I bind myself to a life I do not know. If I refuse, I do must both. Her lips pressed together. A faint tremor ran through her fingers, but her voice stayed calm. Yes. The truth cut deeper than any blade. Daniel closed his eyes, searching his own heart. He had lived through battles and blood. He had seen comrades fall. He thought he had learned how to face any trial. But this was different. This was not war. This was a choice that could change his entire life. He opened his eyes again. Soraya was still watching him, her face both proud and fragile. Tell me, he said, his tone sharper. If I agree to this bond, what does it mean? What will I become to you? For the first time, her proud mask softened. Her gaze lowered, and her voice grew quiet. It means you will be my mate. By our law, my life is tied to yours. My honor, my duty, my future. And in return, I give you what is mine. My name, my family, my protection. Daniel frowned. So I would not just be your husband. I would be pulled into your world, into your people. She nodded. Yes. They would see you not as outsider, but as part of us. That is the gift and the burden. His chest tightened. He thought of Earth, of home, of the life he once knew. Could he give it up for her? Could he surrender his freedom for a tradition he barely understood? Before he could answer, Soraya spoke again. Her words were softer now, edged with something raw. But know this, Daniel. If you refuse, I will not hate you. I will not curse you. You saved my life when no one else did. That gift cannot be erased. I will carry it, even in exile. Her voice trembled slightly on the last word, but she did not look away. Daniel's heart twisted. She spoke of exile as if it were a wound worse than death, yet she was willing to accept it rather than force his hand. The thought of her alone, abandoned by her people, brought a sharp pain inside him. He rose from his seat and stepped closer. She lifted her gaze, silver eyes shining with emotion she tried to hide. Daniel placed his hand gently over hers. Her skin was cool, her fingers delicate, yet the touch carried a weight that bound them. "I did not ask for this," he said quietly. "But neither did you. Fate chose for us. And I will not let fate break you." Her breath caught, her eyes widening slightly. "I will stand before your council," Daniel continued. His voice grew firm, carrying the strength of his decision. "I will face their trial. I will not see you fall into shame because of me." For a moment, Soraya's composure faltered. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, tears glimmered in her silver eyes, though she did not let them fall. Slowly, she bowed her head, her voice breaking into a whisper. "Then you have chosen. And I will stand with you." Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest, a mix of fear and hope. He had stepped into a path he could not leave, yet he did not regret it. Not when she looked at him like that. Not when her voice trembled with gratitude. Outside the outpost, the soldiers waited. Soon, the council would summon him. Soon, the trial would begin. Daniel tightened his grip on Soraya's hand. "Whatever comes," he said softly, "we face it together." She closed her eyes and leaned into his touch, her voice barely more than a breath. Together. In the silence that followed, the bond between them grew stronger. Not only by law, not only by tradition, but by choice. The day of judgment arrived quickly. Daniel stood before the alien council, a circle of towering figures wrapped in silver robes. Their faces were marked with glowing lines, symbols of wisdom and age. The chamber around them shimmered with crystal walls that pulsed faintly, alive with strange energy. Soraya stood at Daniel's side, her posture proud though her body still bore the marks of her wounds. Her silver eyes never left him, her hand resting close to his, though they did not touch. Her people watched from the edges of the chamber, whispers flowing like wind through tall grass. The tallest of the council members raised a hand, and silence fell. His voice echoed with authority. "Human! You saved the daughter of the house of Thales. By our law, you claim her life, and with it the price of marriage. But worth must be proven. Words are not enough." Daniel lifted his chin. "What must I do?" The council member's eyes glowed faintly. "Face the trial of courage. Survive, and you are accepted. Fail, and your life ends here." The crowd stirred, their whispers sharp. Soraya stepped forward, her voice steady but urgent. "Elder, he is not of our kind. The trial was not made for humans." The elder's gaze hardened. "Then let him prove that his heart is stronger than flesh. If he cannot endure, then he is unworthy of you." Soraya's lips pressed together. She wanted to argue, but she knew the law as well as they did. Her eyes turned to Daniel, filled with both fear and hope. Daniel nodded slowly. "I will face your trial." The chamber doors opened, revealing a wide arena carved into the stone below. Light spilled down from glowing crystals, casting long shadows. The ground was marked with ancient symbols, glowing faintly like fire trapped in stone. Daniel walked forward, his footsteps echoing. The crowd filled the upper tiers, their silver eyes watching. Some looked with anger, some with curiosity, others with doubt. Soraya stood at the edge of the arena, her hands clenched tightly together. She whispered under her breath, words Daniel could not hear. A gate opened at the far end of the arena. From the shadows emerged a beast unlike any Daniel had ever seen. Its body was massive, covered in scaled armor that shimmered with metallic light. 4 glowing eyes locked onto him, and a low growl rumbled across the arena. Its claws scraped the stone, sparks flying with every step. Daniel's heart pounded, but he raised his weapon. The crowd roared with approval. The trial had begun. The beast lunged, its body faster than its size suggested. Daniel rolled aside just in time, the ground cracking where the claws struck. He fired his rifle, the blast striking its armor, but the shot barely left a mark. The crowd shouted louder, their voices filling the chamber. Daniel gritted his teeth. His weapon was nearly useless. He needed another way. The beast circled him, growling, its glowing eyes locked on him with hunger. Daniel's mind raced. He studied its movements, searching for weakness. Then he saw it. Beneath the armored plates, at the base of its neck, a small gap flickered with softer light. The beast charged again. Daniel sprinted forward instead of back, sliding beneath its body. He fired upward into the gap. The creature roared, stumbling, its claws slamming into the ground. The shockwave threw Daniel across the arena, his weapon torn from his hands. Pain surged through his body, but he forced himself to rise. The beast turned, bleeding faintly from its wound, but not defeated. It bellowed, a sound that shook the chamber. Daniel clenched his fists. If the rifle would not finish it, then courage must. He grabbed a fallen spear from the arena floor, its blade glowing faintly with alien energy. The beast lunged again, jaws wide. Daniel steadied himself, heart pounding, and at the last moment he drove the spear deep into the glowing gap. The creature shrieked, its body thrashing violently. Daniel held on with all his strength as the beast collapsed, shaking the ground. Silence followed. The beast lay still, its light fading. Daniel stood over it, blood on his face, his chest heaving. Slowly, he lifted the spear high. The crowd erupted with a roar of voices, some shocked, some cheering, others silent in disbelief. Soraya's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes glistening with tears. Relief and pride filled her gaze. The elder of the council rose. His voice carried across the chamber. The trial is complete. The human has faced death and endured. By courage he has proven his worth. By law, he is bound to Soraya. Soraya stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. He is more than worthy. He is mine as I am his. Daniel looked at her, his body aching, his spirit burning with exhaustion. Yet when their eyes met, something greater than pain filled him. He had fought not for glory, not for tradition, but for her. And in her silver gaze he saw the same truth. The council declared the bond sealed, and the crowd bowed in reluctant respect. Daniel stood tall, though his knees trembled, and Soraya moved to his side. For the first time, she touched his hand before all her people. The warmth of her fingers in his palm told him that this was no longer only a law. It was something deeper. Something real. Together they turned toward the council, united by trial, bound by choice, and watched by 1,000 eyes. The marriage price had been paid. The arena grew silent after the elder's words. The echoes of battle faded, replaced by the steady hum of energy within the crystal walls. Daniel stood in the center, bruised and bleeding, yet unbroken. Beside him, Soraya walked with quiet grace, her silver eyes shining like twin stars. The council rose as one. Their robes shimmered, their glowing symbols burning brighter in respect. The eldest among them raised his staff. By trial, the human has proven his worth. By law, the bond is sealed. Before all, let this union be witnessed. The crowd stirred, their voices rising like waves. Some cheered. Others muttered in discontent. To see a human bound to their princess was unthinkable, yet none could deny what they had seen. Courage had spoken where words alone could not. Soraya turned to Daniel. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for his. He met her touch, their fingers entwining. Warmth flowed between them, steady and real. She lifted her voice so all could hear. He carried me from death. He defied fear when even my own guards faltered. He fought for me, not for power, not for glory, but because his heart could not let me fall. Such a bond cannot be denied. Her words struck the chamber like a bell. For the first time, Daniel saw awe in the eyes of her people. Not all accepted him, but they could no longer doubt him. The elder stepped forward, his voice calm and heavy with meaning. Then let the bond be sealed. He placed a small crystal in their joined hands. It glowed, pulsing with light that wrapped around their fingers, binding them in a shimmer of silver and gold. Daniel felt the warmth of it sink deep into his skin, like a promise written into his very soul. Soraya's breath caught softly, her silver eyes glistening as the light faded. The bond was complete. The council bowed their heads, and the crowd lowered their weapons in respect. The union was not just law now. It was destiny. When the ceremony ended, Soraya led Daniel out of the arena. The night air was cool, the stars stretching endless above them. Away from the noise, she finally let go of her proud mask. She turned to him, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "You have given me more than life. You have given me honor. And now you have given me hope." Daniel studied her face, the tears shimmering in her eyes, the strength hidden behind them. Slowly, he brushed his thumb over her hand. "I didn't come here for honor or hope. I just couldn't let you go. That's the truth." Her lips parted, a soft laugh breaking through her tears. It was fragile, yet filled with warmth. She stepped closer, resting her forehead lightly against his chest. For a moment, there were no councils, no trials, no laws. Only them. He held her gently, his heart steady at last. The weight of the trial, the danger, the choice, it had all led to this moment. Above them, the stars burned bright. Soraya lifted her head, her eyes glowing with silver fire. "The path ahead will not be easy. Many will resist this bond. Some will try to break it. But I will not let them. I am yours, Daniel, by law, by choice, and by heart." Daniel met her gaze, his voice strong. "And I am yours. Whatever comes, we face it together." Their words hung in the night air, carried by the wind. A promise that neither war nor tradition could break. From the shadows, her people watched in silence. Some frowned, unwilling to accept. Others whispered with wonder. But none could deny the truth. Their princess had chosen, and the human had proven himself. As the night deepened, Daniel and Soraya stood hand in hand, staring at the endless sky. The war had brought them together. Fate had tested them. But now, bound by love and sacrifice, they faced a future where two worlds would meet. The bond that began with a single act of mercy had become something greater. Not just survival. Not just tradition. But a union that could change everything. And in the quiet of that night, with stars as witness, Daniel knew one thing with absolute certainty. He did not regret saving her.